In this next segment, you'll be introduced to Promise, a sweet little pony, a mare, and her owner, Alicia. Over the 6 years that Promise has been with Alicia, Alicia has done a lot of work on desensitizing Promise. Her big remaining issue is her inability to deal with strangers, people in her space, being handled by anyone other than Alicia or her husband. So our goal is to make her feel comfortable with me as the therapist in the beginning, and then with a group of aunties in a pen in an open area where she is passed and directed first by one auntie, then another, and then all of us, and learns to accept our attention and our focus on her without equine stress control therapy. First, we desensitize her with it, and then we work with her free without using the therapy, and you'll see that she's come a long way.
We're working with Promise, a little pony, and her owner, Alicia. Alicia has had Promise for 6 years now, and Promise's issue is being touched by strangers. She and her husband Bob are able to catch her with halter and lead rope, and there are a few other people that can be near her, but to touch her is really quite an undertaking. And our project for the day was to use the automatic pulser on her to get her soft and to get her accepting of me touching her. At first, our efforts were together, working as one team, trying to work with her as a couple, with Alicia present, Alicia being the stabilizing influence. After a few passes, we were able to get a neck release from her, but she was still very reluctant, and she was fighting getting her head down. At this point, we decided that perhaps working individually with her one-on-one would relieve the pressure. So as I began working with her on the rope, she became more accepting of my touch on her in general, especially on her head. One of the techniques that we use with equine stress control therapy is following traditional training, which is approach and retreat, pressure and release. So after Alicia takes her for a walk periodically, then she can hand her over to me and I can begin working with her. My idea is to spend some time alone with her in Alicia's presence before I start working with her completely alone. Intermittently, it's important to ask for neck releases in addition to the pulsing to make sure that the horse feels how good it can be in its body with a soft neck instead of a high neck. Watch for signs like licking and chewing, softer eyes, softer stance, and remember to keep your own energy down. So then I take Promise for a little walk, and intermittently we are pulsing her and we are not pulsing her. The idea with the automatic pulser is to let it run for about a minute and a minute and a half while you are accelerating pressure on the horse, while you are increasing demands on the horse. And then when she has fulfilled her task, then you turn the pulser off and you give her a little bit of relief. And with this approach and retreat, mimicking classical training, the horse understands that it can survive its issue and overcome it. And through a series of repetitions, the horse becomes less stressed. Once Promise is able to follow me on lead rope, our job is to work on the other side of her. Horses have left and right sides, and you can see as we move to the other side, she becomes a little bit more alert. But it's always important to work both sides of a horse. And Alicia has told us that Promise's right side is her quote-unquote bad side. So as I come closer and as I reach in, you can see that it's not something that she wants to engage in yet. Right now, she's not being pulsed. As I make a second approach, she's a little bit more comfortable. Once we've worked with Promise a little bit on her off side, on her bad side, I'm able to lead her on that side around Alicia, and she feels a little bit more comfortable. Her gait is a little bit more relaxed. Her head is a little bit lower. I'm trying to keep my energy down too. And Promise seems more focused on what it is that we're doing. Here I park her between the two of us, and I ask for another calm stance. I give her a little rub, and she seems much more accepting. The pulsar is not turned on at this point because she's done quite a bit of integration, and she doesn't seem to be as high-headed as she was before. Prior to our session with Margaret and Kitty and Alicia and me, on the second day of our work with Promise, Alicia and I did a complete body tap down using the equine stress control therapy hand method on Promise. We started at her head, worked down the front part of her body, worked across her back and her croup and down her legs, and did a complete session. By that time, she was sufficiently relaxed and sufficiently calm so that we felt we didn't need to put the automatic pulser on her halter, and that we would work with her without using any kind of pulsing at all. She'd come a long way. And what you're going to see next is Margaret and Kitty approaching her on both sides, and how well she has integrated the previous day's session.
Would you ladies like to try to approach her just to see how she's doing?
Look at her mouth now. She's like, okay, letting out all
She's
that
saying, I
stress.
am so relaxed, I'm yawning. Yeah.
Oh, letting that all out, huh? Should I back off and let them come in?
Whatever, just whatever
give
happens
room
to
for
see
them.
how she is with people.
Good girl. Good God, doing so. She's just a woman. Yeah, Phil. Oh, thanks.
She's like, oh. Black horse on a sunny day. She's warm.
I have to say, she's come a long way from the first time that I ever saw her.
Yeah, with all these people with her, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, she softens with me when it's just her and I, and we're, you know, we spend a whole day together, or I bathe her or something. She softens down and we'll go to sleep, but
She just lowered her head,
A
and
lot.
they're both petting her.
and she dropped it below
Yeah.
Margaret's eyes.
Good
Good
girl.
job.
See, I just had to ask hardly at all, and she'll come down now. Good girl. And Kitty is on her
Rear end.
rear end,
Yeah, she had two of us.
on her bad side.
No, that's her good side.
That's her good side?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're on her bad side.
All right. Thank you. Promise.
Do you want to
See?
show them what you're made of, little girl?
Yes, let's go see her move.
Notice Promise's behavior as Kitty and Margaret approach her on one side. Together, Kitty is able to go right to her rear end and start petting her. Margaret is at her neck petting her. Alicia is not in her field, and she has me standing on the opposite side. She's in a bit of a squeeze play here. Notice how soft her head is, and how she's almost enjoying this close contact with two additional people in her space. At the end of this little segment here, Promise's head starts going up, and she gets a little bit more reactive. She's turning towards me, and just then, Kitty and Margaret leave, giving her a little space to recenter herself. She doesn't move away. She doesn't pull on the lead rope. She stands with me, and so she's able to integrate that little bit of rise in her sensitivity and still hang with me and be comfortable. And what you're going to see next is working with Promise in an open area with her human herd of aunties, off and on lead rope. Our first try was with Margaret to see if Promise would allow herself to be clipped by Margaret and to be led by Margaret without anyone else in the arena. While there were some good starts, it didn't happen, so what we asked Alicia to do was go in and facilitate by getting Promise on the rope and passing her to Margaret, and then beginning that way. And what you will see is a series of people walking in and working with her. After Margaret is Kitty, and then me, and then Alicia, and then all of us working with her together off and on lead rope. And for us, this was an absolutely marvelous day to see her blossom like this, really warmed our hearts, and we felt that she could now be approached by any number of people with Alicia's support, and that she had overcome her fear of working with strangers.
But Promise isn't going too far away.
No, she's hanging.
She's like, I don't know, but I'm not going to go too far. She knows her herd is right there.
Could you humor me and see if you can just walk her over to Margaret, if she'll let you approach?
Sure.
If you can just walk her over to Margaret a few times, let Margaret put the lead rope on her and walk her a little bit, and then bring her back to you. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're trading her off, and then in a few passes she'll get used to having, or more used to having Margaret hook her
You're fine.
and lead her.
Yeah, you're a good girl. Yeah, what a good girl you are.
I mean, this is sort of what a mare would do. You know, here, aunties,
Yeah, right. You guys
take the
think-
baby, I'm going to go, I don't know what, nap under the tree.
Yeah, there's Margaret. And then,
Mama? Yeah, Mama.
yeah. Okay, there you go.
Thanks, Mama. Yeah.
Okay, you stay with Margaret.
So Margaret, now you can lead her a little bit. And then you can give her back to Alicia. So this is the mommy and the auntie game.
And one of the things I've always done when I've worked with her and approaching her and retreating is I take off my glasses so my eyes can really be soft for her, as opposed to the big black eye goggles, you know.
Yeah, I used to do that too, except I was going blind. So
well,
I
and I have to be
decided
careful with that.
my horses have to really, accept me the way I am with my sunglasses on.
What you'll notice in this session in the open arena is that we used Alicia as the constant in Promise's experience. We used her as the constant in our second session in front of the barn on the lead rope with Kitty and Margaret the first time. And here in the open arena, we make sure that Alicia is there so that Promise recognizes her as the constant in her exercises to overcome her anxiety. We feel that this is an important reference point for the horse, and it gives Promise a chance to return home to a safe place if and when she feels stressful, because right now she's not being pulsed. She's working entirely under her own wits and under her own volition.
This has nothing to do with pulsing, but you could be using a pulser here. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could be using a pulser.
That's better. Good job. Nice.
But she seems to be okay.
Not bad. Now down a little bit. Turn it sideways. There you go.
Good, now take her
job.
for a walk. And Mom's gonna leave.
My husband and I comment, having the colts, they're a blank page.
I know.
And everything
Isn't that
we
wonderful?
do with them, we get so far so quickly because they're just
I know.
a sponge.
They're so wonderful.
With Promise, her sponge was full when we got her.
It was
And,
polluted.
And now we're, the babies will come right out and put their heads in the halter, pick up their feet.
So now just let her hang there, Margaret, but take the rope off. We'll see who she comes to, Auntie or Mommy. Go stand by Mommy. She may follow you. She may be hooked on now.
Especially if you kiss to her as you walk away.
Hey, there you go.
Good job, Promise.
Good, good. See, that's a nice thing about being a herd animal. You have lots of mothers. And I think that's one of the things we're trying to
Good
teach even the older ones that maybe never had that habituation, that there are lots of people who are going to care for you, just like there are lots of moms in the herd.
And that's like that Mustang over there. He's never.
Well, I would
had-
love to work with him at some point.
Yeah, you know, I think it's going to be I mean, he's not safe to work
No,
with
he's
right
not
now.
safe to work with.
Because when he gets feeling trapped, boy, those feet are like pistons.
I bet.
Good job, Promise. Good job. Good job. Very nice.
Her eyes are nice and soft now.
Yeah, and she's hanging with Margaret without leaning away.
Yeah, much better.
She's like, see?
So, Kitty, do you want to go in and try to get her? Sure. And we'll do the same mom
Sure.
and auntie thing.
Yeah.
That way she'll have many aunties.
Well, this reinforces the humans walking up to her.
Well, and also, yeah, that she's still safe. No one's doing anything.
No,
Um,
no.
You know, she's a smart little mare. You know, she's just very cautious.
You would love to be able to hear her story. Is that Jesse?
Yeah.
He's got the cutest little...
Oh, his knicker
Knicker
is like a
is-
child. Ooh. Oh, very nice.
Yeah. Okay, we're right here.
And you're on the other side, and that's another thing that she's very cautious about, even when I approach her in the field. She likes me on her left side.
Yeah.
But that's better. She's not moving, you know, she's in between them, basically.
Yeah.
Good job.
So you want to give Kitty the rope?
Is this safe? Just gonna reinforce four over here.
Good chewing.
Good.
All good. Yeah, why don't you come?
She says, I'm feeling a little bit sandwiched, but she's not leaving.
Good girl.
I can't, I don't have any information on how much of this morning is translating into this, this encounter here. I know that it has not harmed her in any way.
No, I would say from my experience with her, it is better. You know, even my friend Tamara that has spent countless hours with her, you know, she could come in here and do this because she is part of our herd. But accepting two new herd mates as
So
leaders.
quickly.
Yeah,
So
she's
quickly.
doing well.
Yeah.
And she's
A
pretty
lot of
soft.
it has to do because you're in there now, you're not out here. And so, but that's fine. That's how a herd would work, you know. I'm just,
Good job. Yeah.
so she's come a long way with the three people near her, around her, working with her.
Now, if I left and you came in, I wonder how she would be.
Let's try it.
I'm just thinking that now she's got a whole new herd.
Let's try it. I don't know how quickly these patterns set.
Well, she seems pretty relaxed. Is why I'm just thinking that it may just reinforce that everything's just good.
No, what we'll do is we'll each come up and walk her a little bit, and then we'll let her go and try to get her. So here she's, I'll bring her to you so she knows you're still here.
Hi, Princess.
And we'll take her to these guys. She says, I wish some of you had cookies.
Yeah, she.
Step up. Step up. Good girl. Good girl. Okay. Let's
Oh, you're
walk.
fine, monkey.
So I'll hand her to you.
And we've just always used that little kissing cue so that if I'm out in the field, I can give just a little kiss and somebody knows I want something. So we've been real.
Why doesn't that work for us humans?
I don't know. When I do that to my husband, well, I won't tell you.
It's a good one, you know.
Well, you know, one of our trainers just said, you know, that way they know something's being asked, something's coming, and it cues them in. Not unlike a clicker.
Yeah,
You know, a lot of people
yeah.
have said, oh, do you do clicker training? I'm like, no, but I guess I don't treat her every time I kiss her, though. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, that
Yeah.
just, you know, she'd be bigger than she is now. But she's pretty relaxed. She's just watching everybody.
She's watching, yeah. So you know what I do now? I take the lead rope off and let her hang, and then one of us go up and see if we can get her.
Sure. Good job. But she didn't move away. No.
She's coming.
She's like, oh, this kitty lady has pockets.
I'll try since I haven't tried to do it with her yet.
Ooh, she's joining up. Good job. That's really good, Barbara. Yeah, she did. And that's not usual for her. Even when I go out to get her, you know, she'll come towards me, but then she stops and waits for me to close the gap.
Well, if I were a herd animal, I'd want companionship wherever I could get it, you know, and if you can be a companion for your horse, they're not going to differentiate a whole lot
Yeah.
that
Well,
you're
and
two-legged.
A lot of times in the pasture, though, because my boys are so attached to me, my geldings, when I get out there, I have to try to not get their attention, because then they're all like, oh, Mom's here, and then they want the attention, like yesterday when I went out to get her. But she was good. She stayed with me. Oh, she's staying with Margaret. He's such a baby.
He's like one of those cartoon knickers or whinnies that you hear in the cartoons, or that they keep putting the same one in the movies over
Yep.
and over again.
When I put him out yesterday with Cabo, he was pretty funny out here. Good job. Good job, girly girl.
That's great.
That's really good.
This is really good.
3 people she
I'm
doesn't know. She's
So
joined
happy
up with,
for her.
Yeah.
You know?
She's relaxed, her ears are paying attention, and there's no treats involved. That's,
No treats involved,
Yeah.
yes.
Which is huge, because usually with strangers there'd have to be something.